Hi, in this video we'll show you how to assemble this fireplace mantle. Just make sure you have a Phillips head screwdriver, plenty of time set aside, and another person may be helpful. We're going to focus on the trickier parts and go quickly through the easier steps, so just make sure you pause the video to complete all the steps as we go. With that said, let's get into it.
In step 1, we'll be attaching 2 of piece 15 to piece 1, so let's go ahead and do that. All right, now we're good to move on. In step 2, we'll be attaching pieces 11, 12, and 13 together. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, now we can move on. In step 3, we'll be putting together pieces 5, 6, 7, and 8. The first thing that we're going to want to do is put in all of our cam bolts. So we'll go ahead and put these into pieces 5 and 6. And then we can go ahead and do the same thing with all of our dowels. All right, and once all of those are in, then we can go ahead and stand up one of our side pieces. And then we can stand up our middle pieces 7 and 8, and you just want to make sure that you have this overhang facing this way. So we'll go ahead and attach these both to one side first. And then we can put in our cam locks. All right, and then the same thing again for piece 8. All right, and then we can go ahead and put on our other side. So we'll just stand this piece up and line it up with all of the holes. Then we can put in all of our cam locks. All right, and once everything's tightened, then we're good to move on. In step 4, we'll be attaching piece 4 and 2 of piece 10. The first thing that we'll want to do is go ahead and put in our cam bolts into both this piece and piece 4. Next, we can go ahead and stand up both of our pieces 10. And we can go ahead and attach this to this piece here. Just make sure that you have the overhang facing this way, just like these other two pieces. All right, and once we have those on, then we can go ahead and stand up piece 4. We'll just fit these into the holes. And then we can go ahead and put in the rest of our cam locks. All right, once we have this side attached, so we're good to move on to step 5 and do the same thing on the other side. All right, and once we have everything together, then we're good to move on. In step 6, we're going to be attaching the front panel, which we currently have upside down here. And then we're going to be attaching 2 of piece 14, which we have on either side. So first thing that we're going to be doing is putting in all of our cam bolts. So we're going to go ahead and start by putting these into the front panel. All right, and once we have all of our bolts into our top panel, we can go ahead and slide this out of the way. And then we can go ahead and put in 4 dowels into the top part here. You're just going to put these in the holes that the cam bolts aren't going to go into. And then once we have all of those in, we can go ahead and carefully flip this over. All right, and once we have this piece flipped over, we can go ahead and fit all the bolts into the remaining holes. And then we can go ahead and put in our cam locks. All right, and once we have our front panel attached, then we're good to go ahead and put in our cam bolts into piece 14. Once we have all of our cam bolts in, then it should look like this. We're going to go ahead and do the same thing on the other side. Okay, and our other piece should also look like this. And then we can go ahead and put in all of our dowels onto each side. So it's going to be 2 each. And then we can flip up our pieces 14 and put them on top. And with these, you want to make sure that you have the bolts on the outer side and the piece overhanging so that it fits into these little crevices. All right, once we have both of those on, we can go ahead and put in all of our cam locks. Okay, and once we have everything together, then we're good to move on. In step 7, we're going to be attaching piece 2 to the bottom of the piece. So the first thing that we'll do is put the cam bolts into the top of piece 2. Okay, and once we have all of our cam bolts in, then we can go ahead and put in our dowels. And we'll just put our dowels into all the remaining holes on piece 2. Okay, and once we have all of those in, then we can go ahead and stand up piece 2 and put it into our main piece here. We'll just go ahead and line up all of our holes. All right, once we have piece 2 lined up, we can go ahead and put in all of our cam locks on the inside of the piece. Okay, and once we have everything attached, we're good to move on to the next step. In step 8, we're going to be putting the back panels onto the piece. All right, once we have all of our panels in, we're good to move on. In step 9, we're going to be attaching piece 1 to the rest of the piece. So first thing that we'll do is put in all of our cam bolts. All right, and once we have all of our bolts in, we can go ahead and put in our dowels. Okay, and once we have all of our dowels in, we can go ahead and stand up piece 1 and fit it into the rest of the piece. Okay, and once we have both pieces lined up, we can go ahead and put in all of our cam locks and the inside holes. Okay, and once we have all of our cam locks attached, we're good to move on. In step 10, we'll be putting the wedges into the back panels. So we're gonna go ahead and do that. Okay, once we have all of our wedges in, then we're good to move on.
In this step, we'll be inserting the fireplace. We'll start by sliding it into place, and then we'll secure it with brackets on each side. Once we have it installed, then we're all done. We hope this video was helpful for you in assembling your new mantle. For more guides, tips, and tricks, head on over to WECUL22704.com.